Historical Association. We have two buildings. We have our research center at 311 Montgomery, and you're at our museum, 321 Montgomery Street. I heard a couple of you say this is your first time here, so I'd like to welcome you and invite you to come back. We have many exciting programs and exhibits throughout the year, and please do come back and be one of our family. Before we get started, I'd like to announce a couple of events we have coming up. First of all, for Summer in the City, which happens on July 21st, we're going to have an all-county checker tournament. So those of you that... Okay. Those of you that play checkers, feel free to come down, and if you have any friends that play, just come on down. It's just going to be a fun time. We'll be located on South Salina Street, either the 300 or 400 block. You just have to kind of look for us. And the tournament takes place from noon to 3 p.m. on that day. We do have prizes. Also, I'd like to announce the Fall Midday History Series, which is our Thursday afternoon programs at 12:15. Will be starting October the 4th and will run through November 29th. So during the lapse of summer, just kind of keep those dates in mind and mark them on your calendar for the coming fall. Okay? We have a very special program tonight. I've been really thrilled working with Sarah Hassenplug, who has written the narration of the life of the Blessed Kateri Tekakwitha, who is a Native American girl. She was Mohawk and Algonquin, and she is up for sainthood in the Roman Catholic Church. Well, Sarah is just so dedicated to the cause, and it has been a very exciting and learning experience for me working with her. And I would like to introduce her to you now. She is going to be, well, she's a member of St. Lucy's Parish, as are the other performers. Alice Thompson, who is not listed in your program, will also be singing tonight. And Mary Maples, and then the featured performer portraying Kateri is Theresa Steele. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sarah Hassenplug.
To share with you the life story of our future saint, Blessed Kateri Tekakwitha.
I greet you, my brothers and sisters. I am Kateri Tekakwitha of the Mohawk and Algonquin nations. In 1656, I was born in a village called Osalona on the south bank of the Mohawk River, what is known today as New York State. My father is one of the 9 chiefs of the Mohawk tribe. He married my mother, a gentle Christian Algonquin maiden. When I was 4 years old, the smallpox sickness came over my whole village. It seems as if everybody got sick. I got sick. For days and nights, my aunt took turns in caring for me as I tossed in bed with a high fever. I could not even turn over because of the pain in my head and back. And whenever I could, I called for my mother, but my mother did not come. When the smallpox sickness had finally ended, most every family in the village lost someone. My mother baby brother had all died. The pockmarks on my face, they never went away. My weakened eyesight did not get better. With the death of my parents, I became daughter to my uncle and aunt. And in my father's place, my uncle was selected to serve as chief. Each evening when my new family had finished eating, I would fumble my way across the dark longhouse to fetch my uncle's pipe. No matter how careful I tried to be, I always bumped into someone or something. One evening, I not only bumped into everybody, I bumped into everything. My uncle laughingly said, "Look at how she bumps into things." And that's how it got my name, Tekakwitha, she who bumps into things. How we laughed that night. I was 11 years old. We had just moved across the river to our new village when the 3 men of God called Jesuits came to visit us. As the chief's daughter, it was my duty to serve our guests food and fresh water every day. I sensed peacefulness about these men. Such respect they showed our Creator when they talked to Him. 3 days later, these 3 men of God were gone. The people in our village that make the sign of the cross, or Catholics, say that the Creator Son Jesus lived on Mother Earth with men. He taught them to love one another, love even their enemies. Love even our enemies? How my heart longed to learn more about the Creator's kind Son. From that time on, I listened to everything there was to be heard about Jesus. As the years passed, and in spite of my weak eyesight, my aunts taught me everything I needed to know in order to be a good wife. I could make moccasins, clothes, baskets, and in time I could make peace bells good enough for my uncle the chief to use in his peace talks. When my aunts told me I was old enough to get married, to please them, I allowed them to put bright ribbons in my hair, colorful beads around my neck. Tekakwitha, they would say. When you get married and bring home your new husband, he can hunt with your uncle. He can help support our family. You know that it's the custom of the Mohawk people that every girl marries and raises a family. One day, my aunts even tried to trick me into marriage. A young brave was invited to our house, and I was told to serve him a bowl of corn soup. As the brave reached for the bowl, suddenly, I realized if he takes this bowl from me, it is a sign that I agreed to marry him. I put the bowl down and quickly left the house. My aunts were very angry with me. I always did what my aunts told me to do, but when they told me to get married, I could not obey, because I felt the Holy Spirit was calling me to a different kind of life. The Jesuit fathers lived in our village a few years before I took lessons to become a Christian. I was 20 years old when Father James de Lamberville baptized me on Easter Sunday, April 5th, 1676. He gave me the Christian name Catherine, or Kateri in my tongue. On that day, the Holy Spirit filled my heart with such joy, I was never happier. After my baptism, my aunts used my Christian faith against me because I still could not get married. I was not allowed to eat on Sundays or holy days because I no longer would work on those days. My aunts said that anyone who does not work does not deserve to eat. On those days, I fasted for Jesus. On the way to church, children began to throw stones or pebbles to taunt me. Sometimes men would laugh and jeer as I walked by. I walked a different path to get to church. One day, a man was hired to enter my village to scare me. As the man came toward me, he raised his tomahawk as if to kill me. I bowed my head to die for Jesus. And that scared the man into running out of the house. My friend, Father James de said he would kill whoever took me away from the village, but I hid in the woods until my uncle turned back. 200 miles and 2 moons later, my adopted sister's husband, his friend, and I arrived at the village of the Praying Indians. I was saddened for leaving my home and family, but my heart jumped with joy upon seeing my mother's old friend Anastasia again. Anastasia asked me how I lived since she was gone. I told her I lived the same way I did when she was there. As soon as I could, I went to church to thank Lawanio for bringing me to this village where people are free to pray whenever they want to. After that first Christmas, on Christmas Day, 1677, just 2 months after I arrived, Father Jelinek tells me I could receive my first Holy Communion. How honored I am for this privilege. After that first Christmas, most of us in the village went on a winter hunt. I did not think I could live those long winter months without receiving Jesus in the sacred host, but I went because I thought it was my duty to help. Well, after the noon meal, while the others rested, I walked to the edge of our camp. I carved a cross on one of the trees, and there in the quiet of the woods, I prayed to Lawanio every day. When we returned to our village, someone told Father I had sinned with a man at the winter camp. I told Father it was not true. It was not true. My best friend Marie Theresa and I wanted to start a religious order, like the nuns in Montreal. We would build a longhouse on one of the islands, close to the village, and live there. We would dress the same, work, and always pray together. But Father said no. We were too young in the faith, and it was too dangerous for us to live on the island all by ourselves. We listened to stories about the saints, and we decided to dedicate our lives to prayer and penance like they did. Before we went to confession, Marie Theresa and I would take turns in whipping each other with a stick and offering the pain up to Jesus on the cross. We wore belts studded with nails as we worked in the fields, and we fasted twice a week. When Father found out what we were doing, he ordered us to stop. From then on, he allowed us only the penances that he thought we could endure. On Our Lady's Feast of the Annunciation, I pronounced my vows of perpetual virginity. With Father's help, before going to Mass, I did some penances. 15 minutes after Mass had started, I presented myself to our Blessed Mother and asked her to present me to her Son. After receiving the sacred host, I promised Jesus that he would be my only spouse for as long as I lived. It is Wednesday of Holy Week. I have been sick with fever. I no longer can do penances. Father tells me to prepare to die as he gives me the last rites. Father tells me my penances and high fever were too much for me. How happy I am to be going home to Jesus. I bid my friends goodbye. I tell them I will love you in heaven. I will pray for you. I will help you. After whispering the holy names of Jesus, Mary, my spirit passed from this world. I lived on Mother Earth 24 winters. 7 days after my death, I appeared to Anastasia in a vision with a message. I showed her a brilliant cross. I told her that this was the source of all my happiness on earth. I advise you to make it yours.
and all the Indians that could fit into the room. The Indians believed that that was that moment that the Tekakwitha saw God. There was no question in their minds that the Tekakwitha was a saint. The Tekakwitha died on April 15th. She was buried on the, she died on the 17th. She was buried on the 18th, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The third day of her death was Good Friday, and during the Mass, when Father uncovered the cross that Kateri loved, all the Indians started to cry so loud that Mass was interrupted twice. And this was very unusual because Indians did not show emotion. Devotion to Kateri began immediately after her death. And it was soon realized that all the things that the Tekakwitha touched, like her clothes, her blanket, and even the bowl that she ate from, when it was applied to a sick person or given to a sick person with some prayers, they were cured. There was countless of miracles that happened right after her death. One girl in particular was having difficulty delivering. She was in labor all evening and all into the next morning. Finally, when she couldn't take any more, she grabbed a hold of the blanket that was close by that belonged to the Tekakwitha. She covered herself and yelled out the Tekakwitha's name and asked her to help her. With that, the girl passed out. And several hours later, when she came to, she had delivered the baby, and she was okay too. Soon after, the Indians knew that she was a saint. And about a year after, the favors began to be realized in the nearby communities. Like, it started with La Prairie, and then Lachine. All these reports were given to the priest at the Indian settlement of Onondaga near Montreal. And some of the reports that came from these settlements were that the dirt from the Tekakwitha's grave was also working miracles. A man by the name of Claude Crayon from La Prairie was dying. And when the priest traveled, he used to carry the dirt with him because he knew of the miracles that were being granted. When he knew somebody was dying and on their last breath, he would ask them if they wanted to say either a novena to the Tekakwitha or to say the Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be 3 times. And usually when they agreed, he would take some of the dirt and put it in the water in a glass, stir it, and give it to them, and they were cured. There was also another case of a woman that was dying. And she invoked the name of the Tekakwitha, and she was cured. However, her side was not cured. Her whole body, she became strong again, but she was sore on her side. So what the priest did was take some of the dirt and moisten it with water and applied this to the injured part, and she too was cured. At first, after the Tekakwitha's death, when prayers were asked for the children that were dying, she did not answer the prayers to the little ones. Not until her grave was completely surrounded by the little babies' graves. And then the miracle started with the other children. It was like as if she wanted to be encircled with all these little innocent angels. There was a tale where hunters had gone out hunting, and a storm came up, and they got lost. And because they didn't know exactly which direction their village was, they knew it was someplace close, but they couldn't see. They became very frightened. So they knelt down in the snow and prayed to the Tekakwitha and asked him to help them. When they got up, for no reason at all, one of the hunters turned right and went over a hill, which was the most unlikely direction. But when the snow cleared, they kept walking. They found their village right ahead of them. The legend started soon that where the Tekakwitha's heart was, there sprang a lily. And that has been passed down among my people all these hundreds of years. The Tekakwitha, and this is how she became known as the Lily of the Mohawks. On June 22nd, 1680, we had the great fortune to be part of a group that went to Rome, Italy for the Tekakwitha's beatification. I can't begin to tell you how impressive that whole day was. I sat from the altar and I looked, and one portion of in the basilica, I noticed all the Indian people sitting there, and they all had their fine clothes with all their bright feathers. And all through the ceremony, I couldn't help but talk to the Tekakwitha and say, "Look at your people." And I realized that I talked to her all the way through the Mass. I was one of the Indians that was asked to present our Holy Father with a gift. So I walked up to the Pope and knelt before him along with another Indian guy from out west. And as I showed him the beaded stole that I made, rather than to come up with all these speeches that I had memorized all these years, I looked at the Holy Father and said, "How do you like what I made for you?" I couldn't believe I had said that. The Holy Father just smiled and kept saying it was beautiful. And if he hadn't said that, I think I probably would have died. It is my understanding, according to Father Egan from St. Regis Reservation, that this fall they are going to send a fact finder to all the Indian communities and see about the miracles and just find out everything about the Tekakwitha, and hopefully that they will consider her for canonization soon. And next time I probably won't get a chance to get near the Pope as close as I did, but it doesn't matter. I already blundered, and I just hope he's got such a good memory that he probably would remember what I said. Thank you very much for coming. This spring, Harry and I went to attend Father Henri Bichart's wake. And while there, Sister gave us a picture of a copy of the painting that is in the sacristy of Kahnawake village near Montreal. It is the oldest picture that was painted, and it was just cleaned a year ago, she said. And they were surprised at all the different colors that came through. And she had managed to get us a copy, and this is what the Tekakwitha. This picture was painted about 1682 or 83. When they cleaned it, all the colors came through. This is why we tried to make the Terry's clothes according to the Tekakwitha. But we know that thank you very much. There is some cheese and wine out here that Cheryl's put up. Everybody's welcome to it. Does anybody have any questions that we might answer? If we can't, Father's here. Yeah, we're from St. Lucy's Parish. Yes?
Sarah, I know this is mainly about but I know that you told me another time that there are other holy women
Oh, yes.
here that,
Among the Native Americans?
yes, maybe.
Yes, we have a number of martyrs that were martyred. These are the pupils of the first Jesuit fathers that came to this country. They were the students. However, they were never recognized as martyrs, along with the other Jesuit martyrs. And to me, the Indian martyrs died more Christ-like than the Jesuits because the Indians died at the hands of their own people for their faith. And hopefully someday soon, we'll start to pick up their cause, maybe as soon as the Tekakwithas can. Yeah?
Hi, could you tell me basically how many miracles they think have been performed? And from what you said, it sounds like more than 3. I thought you had only 3, and that would definitely be a cause for canonization. It sounds like maybe more. Do you have a number on that?
When the Tekakwitha died, there was a number of miracles. However, her cause was never taken up. Like the Jesuit, the Indian martyrs, her cause was never taken up. The second, what in here, guys? Help me with the second miracle wasn't, the Holy Father did not recognize the second miracle. He just went because there's so many people coming back to God among the Native Americans that he kind of considered that as a miracle.
Supposedly thinking of the process of canonization, the absolute proof of a physical miracle seems to be waning. Because it's more important to look at the influence of a person upon people and changing their lifestyles as a result of that influence. That's probably more significant than physical miracle. I think that's probably what will make a difference in the long run. The fact that she's been venerated for over 300 years by the people, and that she's brought many people to faith in Jesus, that will probably be fine.
Somebody else? Yeah.
Is her grave still venerated?
No, she's been beatified.
Her grave, is her grave site still?
Her grave site is gone. See, when the Indians moved up to Ganawag near Montreal, they moved 5 times, all on the south bank of the Mohawk River within a short distance of each other. But the second site is where the Tekakwitha was buried. And since then, they had to make the seaway bigger. And what they did was take the land where the Tekakwitha was buried. So actually, her grave site is in the water now. Yeah, you see.
Could you tell some good books to read? I have read one that it seems that you had acted out, which was marvelous. Could you give suggestions of books you would suggest that really give a full and vivid story of what's happened with her?
One book that I like that touches pretty close to some of the events in her life is a book that was just written by Sister, Sister, I can't think of her name, but it was recently done, and you can get a copy from the National Tekakwitha Conference. There you go. In fact, I'll give the address out. Yeah. Somebody else have a question?
Is it unusual to attempt canonization of somebody that lived more than 300 years ago? Is that an unusual undertaking?
No, in this case, I believe it's because, no. Anybody else?
In the process of canonization, where is the process right now?
Third step.
To beatification, but how long is that
Canonization.
timeline?
As soon as they clear the miracles, Father Bishart, before he died, said that there is miracles that have been submitted to Rome, but right now they're buried in a stack of paperwork. And he used to ask people, because the Tekakwitha, when she was out on a hunt, she used to send her angel to go and hear the mass and ask him to bring back all the graces. So Father Bishart used to ask all the people to kind of send your angel, but not too long, to Rome, to whoever it is that they got, you know, and tell them to get home with them. Yeah.
Father Bouchard wrote a book on the life of the Native Tekakwitha.
Yeah. Also, Father Andre Bishart did write a book on the original Gahnawakis. And that, I think you could get a copy from Montreal, near Quebec, or shrine is beautiful. It's gigantic. You've seen it, right?
A long time ago.
But basically, Orisville is there. Only it's the martyr shrine. Yeah. And what it does is it commemorates the fact that the Tekakwitha was born on the south bank of the Mohawk River. But the national shrine of the Tekakwitha is on the north bank of the Mohawk River, the founder of the Tekakwitha shrine. And people don't realize that this shrine is there. It's got big areas.
Where is it?
It's about 3 miles distance from Orisville Shrine, but only on the north bank of the river. If you've been there, if you go down to the bridge, go right over the bridge and turn left, and you're right there.
Is it marked?
Oh yeah, it's got all kinds of markings.
What is about a half a mile west of Fonda on Route 5?
When my stepmother had a nervous breakdown in 1949, her daughter got information, I don't know how, from either the Shrine at Fonda or from somebody else, and had her pledge, if she were cured of her nervous breakdown, that she would make a 9-day novena. She must have recovered and made the novena. For all I know, the next thing I know, she brought me over and her immediate family personally to the shrine at Fonda, which was only a sort of a large barracks or chapel then in 1949 or 50.
Yeah.
And it's obviously changed since then.
Well, right now there's a whole complete Mohawk village site of Kahnawake. And Kahnawake is where the Tekakwitha lived most of her life. And it's been completely excavated, and it's the only one of its kind in the country. If anybody here ever gets a chance to come and see our chapel at St. Lucy's Church, as you go into the church, way in the back on the right-hand side, there's a little room that I guess was a sacristy at one time.
Yeah.
And it was done over into a chapel. We have great big mural paintings of the Tekakwitha and a forest scenery, and this is where we go and worship.
Where is St. Lucy's on this?
On Gifford Street.
When do you work?
Every Sunday, we're
Oh, I
Catholics.
see.
Yeah, but no, what she means that the Mohawk only have one specific observance, which is in the Christmas time. Not necessarily.
No, we have to go to church every Sunday.
Well, I mean, just the Mohawks have their own mass in Mohawk or something.
Oh, we have 2 masses twice a year. We celebrate the feast of the Tekakwitha, which is in April. And also in the fall, we celebrate the Fallen Leaves Mass that we pray for our dead relatives. Somebody wants to come and join us sometimes. We submit a name, and we charge $1 a name. And the only reason why we charge $1 is one time we didn't charge and nobody gave us any names. They feel that this is the way they're contributing towards the holy sacrifice of the Mass, which is, fine. We just donate it to the church.
Or $10 for...
And $10 for as many as you, that's the limit, as high as you can go. $10 a family. But we chant the names in Mohawk just before the Mass. So we start about, sometimes an hour, as much as an hour before the Mass, and we play the drums, make sure all our dead relatives have been called, and then we celebrate the Mass. It's quite impressive. I wish you'd come if you ever get a chance.
Would it be possible to hear the song again in the native language?
Sure. Come on, Mary. Father, come and help us. Some of the St. Lucy's parishioners are here. They know the song. And
You got Alice, you know.
Oh, no, you got Mary. I'm not going to sing.
come on, Evelyn. Evelyn.
Now, I heard singing from both directions when you sang that, so somebody up here knows it.
Right there. Evelyn.